Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. This is Kevin Chang of Hāʻena Ulu Awamo or Kua. We appreciate you all coming in to join us for our Gubernatorial Talk Stories, and we have our guest Kai Kahele on today. Before we start talking with Kai, I just wanted to do a short intro video of Kua's work. Then I'll open up with a simple statement, and then Kai, if you want, you have 5 minutes to just introduce yourself and talk about your campaign. So if we can play that video.
Hāʻena are the grassroots rural people of Hawaii. Ulu is to grow. Awamo is the carrying stick, used to shoulder the weight of many. Hāʻena Ulu Awamo means grassroots growing through shared responsibility. Pua is a backbone organization that supports networks of communities across Hawaii. They are fishers, farmers, fish pond kiaʻi, and limu gatherers. Together, these practitioners, educators, researchers, and community stewards are working toward a shared vision in Aina Momona, rich, abundant ecological systems that support community well-being. These experts of land and sea hold wisdom and solutions for some of Hawaii's most difficult social and environmental problems. Your support helps us respond to the needs of our communities. It helps build a better and more just future for generations to come.
Thank you, Ginger. The Hawaii State Constitution makes clear that our natural and cultural resources, including our nearshore marine resources, are subject to the public trust and therefore must be managed and protected for the benefit of present and future generations. The Hawaii State Constitution further requires the state and its agencies protect and enforce Native Hawaiian rights, including traditional and customary practices associated with and dependent upon carefully managed and abundant nearshore resources. Our discussion today will be focused primarily, Kai, for you. I think I let you know earlier, but our focus today will really be questions around natural resource governance, management, and community. And we have 5 set questions we ask every candidate. And while the questions are going on, people are welcome to submit over chat any additional questions that we can follow up with if we have time towards the end. So my first question, Kai, why don't you just tell us about yourself and your campaign? You have about 5 minutes for that.
Well, mahalo, Kevin and Kua, for having me here. You know, I see a lot of familiar faces on this, I guess, this forum. You know, from Damien Kennison in the chat. Aloha, Damien. It's been a long time. You know, of course, Kevin, Uncle Presley over there at Hāʻena, Uncle Mac on Molokai, Kehau, congratulations. Lila with our Miloliʻi CBSFA. I watched a video from DLNR. You know, incredible day for Miloliʻi and Governor Ige. I'm so glad that he went and got in the ocean. You know, a lot of who I am today is a result of, you know, growing up on Hawaii Island and growing up down in Miloliʻi. You know, my dad was born in Miloliʻi in 1942 at Kalihi. His brothers were all born there. Our family is from South Kona. My grandfather, Peter Kahua Kai Kahele, was born down there in Miloliʻi as well and lived at Kapua. So, you know, although I grew up in Hilo, went to school in Hilo, spent a lot of time in my early childhood years in Miloliʻi. And I had a chance to be exposed to kupuna that helped shape my life today. Erika Anana, Diana Aki, Eugene Kaupiko, you know, Uncle Walter Paulo, so many others that, you know, played maybe a small role in my life growing up, but helped to shape the perspective that I have today on natural resource management and marine-based management. You know, you mentioned Article 12, Section 7, Kevin, of the Hawaii State Constitution. You know, I wonder if we even follow that constitutional requirement and mandate that we have when going through the environmental process or the developmental process throughout this state. So, you know, for me, it's just an honor to be here. I'm 48 years old. You know, I am at a point in my life that I feel like this state needs a new generational type of leader that doesn't come along very often. And I believe for all of us on this call that we are who our kupuna have been waiting for. We are. Our kupuna that struggled through their lives, that saw Hawaii change in front of their eyes, longed for the day that their grandchildren, their great-grandchildren would be the ones that would be educated, that would be smart, that would be able to take the Ike of the past with the modern day educational opportunities into the future to make that change. And so I really believe that we are who our kupuna were dreaming of, and we have this unique opportunity in this election to usher in a new generation of OEV leadership to lead Hawaii, to lead this state. And that for whatever reason, you know, life has put me in this position where I've decided to run for governor and to harness and bring all of my life experiences as a military leader, an elected official, you know, pa'apono Miloliʻi, a working dad, an airline pilot, whatever you want to call it, at this point in my life to run for governor of Hawaii. And so, you know, for me, I'm just privileged to be here, you know, and privileged to be able to walk with our kupuna and to allow them to guide me along this ala nui and along this pathway to what I believe will be a historic election next week, Saturday night, and will allow us and this state to turn the page on good governance in Hawaii and to allow us to set a new sail plan for the future of Hawaii. That only can be done with someone who has, I believe, the experience, the skill set, the pilina, the kuleana to this place and to all the special places that all of you represent. I've been to many of them. I've walked them. I've felt them. And I'm ready to lead this state to continue to protect them. And so, mahalo, Kevin. And I'm ready for your 5 ni now.
Thank you, Kai. So we really want to know, if elected, what your administration's top 3 priorities would be with regard to protecting Hawaii's natural resources.
Fantastic question. I tell you what, before we even get to priorities, the most important thing that the next governor of Hawaii is going to do is to build his or her cabinet. The next director of the Department of Land and Natural Resources, the next deputy director, whoever leads aquatic resources, dobor, forestry, land management, that is a critical state department that needs to have the right type of leader to accomplish any of the things that we all want to accomplish on this call. So building out the cabinet is critical. You know what is even more critical, Kevin? How many, sorry to ask you a question, or this is for anybody on the panel. How many state Supreme Court justices do we have on the Hawaii State Supreme Court?
So you're asking
Anyone? I'm asking you. Yeah. Anybody in the chat know?
You know, I
How
should know
many
that. I want to do 5.
How many states? What you said?
I said I should know that, but I want to say 5.
Well, you should be in Vegas right now, bro, because you would win the mega bucks. It is 5. 5 state Supreme Court justices sit on the state Supreme Court. Does anyone know how many state Supreme Court justices the next governor of Hawaii will select? The answer is 3. The next governor of Hawaii will shape the future of the state Supreme Court for generations. You want to talk about Mauna Kea? You want to talk about East Maui water rights? You want to talk about all these decisions at the state Supreme Court? That is what is more important to me than the office of the governor, because the state Supreme Court would outlive decades of decisions. We didn't have Justice Richardson. We wouldn't have had McBride Robinson and water rights, which led to the 1978 CONCON, which led to the creation of the Water Code, which led to the creation of the Commission on Water Resource Management. So my point is, Kevin, not to go off tangent here, but before we even get to bread and butter issues, the most important thing is the type of governor that we elect that will shape the future of the state Supreme Court, the future of the circuit courts, the ICA, that will appoint people to critical boards and commissions, critical director positions, because we can't get stuff through if we don't have the right people in place. You want to protect Article 12, Section 7 of the Hawaii State Constitution, you better make sure you go on state Supreme Court that represents the values that we have on this call, the diversity of this state. You appoint 3 Supreme Court justices in their 40s of various different, skill sets and experiences. That majority can shape the next 25 to 30 years of the Hawaii Supreme Court. Because if you don't know on this call, you have to retire from the state Supreme Court at 70 years of age. 70. So issues, conservation management, housing, Malama Aina, Aloha Aina, Red Hill, energy, climate change, food security, public education. You're going to speak to many candidates. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. The issues are all the same, Kevin. Election after election after election. You can go back 30, 40 years. We had an affordable housing crisis when we was on territory. The issues are always the same. The difference is character, integrity, values. Someone that can lead this state, that can inspire the next generation of leaders. Someone that can bring people together, convene people around challenging issues and divisive issues that need to be addressed in this state. Somebody that is willing to fight for the people of Hawaii. Someone not beholden to lobbyists, multimillionaire elites, special interests. That's why I'm running this campaign. Hawaii not for sale, $100 or less. I'll be the first candidate in the history of this state not to have a single fundraiser. When you ever heard of that? One candidate running for governor and not have one single fundraiser. That to me is more, everyone focuses on the office of the governor and the po'o at the top. It's the directors, the boards and commissions, the Supreme Court, CWORM, all of these critical appointments that the governor makes can shape the future of this state. And man, we better make sure that whoever is that governor is appointing the right people. That's why I'm running.
Thank you, Kai. I'll pass the second question on to Uʻilani Naipo.
Right. Mahalo nui. Aloha Kai. Mahalo
Aloha.
nui for being here with us this afternoon. O wau no Uʻilani Naipo. I'm the granddaughter of Eugene Keaweiki and Sarah Capella Kaupiko.
Oh.
Yes. So I grew up with your brother, Gibby. That's how you can
right
tell
on.
how old I am. So the second question we have for you speaks to the personal experience of the community of Miloliʻi. And so, yeah, just Tuesday, the governor came down and he signed Miloliʻi's rules and promulgated it. And these rules were codified from our traditional fishing practices.
Yep.
And now we're talking about it's 3 decades since, 1994, when, language was put in place so that we could create this community-based subsistence fishing area. But only 2 exist today, Hāʻena being the first. And so here's the question. For nearly 3 decades now, communities like Miloliʻi have worked with government, agencies to come up with collaborative solutions to natural resource management that are consistent with Native Hawaiian practices. Our customary and traditional subsistence practices are recognized in our Constitution. We have the ike that is crucial for protecting and malaming our land and waters. Progress should not have taken nearly 30 years. As governor, how would your office support and expedite ongoing efforts at community-based natural resource management? How will you remove the barriers for progress? And how will your office encourage other communities to pursue place-based collaborative approaches to natural resource management?
Great question. 94 legislation is enacted. I don't know when Hāʻena got their law passed, but 2005 Miloliʻi has its law passed. My dad was a part of that, and many others. But it would take 17 years for Miloliʻi to finally enact its rules. I was there 2011 to 2016 when I was the executive director of Poepoe Miloliʻi. Worked a lot together with many different organizations to try and work on those rules. Sometimes these are very sensitive issues. Obviously, Molokai and Uncle Mac and some of the issues that exist there on Molokai are representative of a community that maybe isn't ready for change or doesn't know how to embrace this change. And it took time for Miloliʻi to come up with its rules. And I commend Kaimi and Laila and Lei and all Kehao and everyone that had a pivotal role in bringing these rules before it would even be brought to the land board, brought to the community first, so that we can help the community understand why a community-based subsistence fishing area is something that was right for our community and could find a balance between the natural resources and the habitats, but also our traditional customary practices of gathering, providing for our families. Many fishermen in Miloliʻi, provide for their families through commercial means as well. And so, what could the office of the governor do to help that? Well, I go back to making sure that the right people sit on the Board of Land and Natural Resources, and the right people sit in the Department of Land and Natural Resources Director and Deputy Director position. I think Brian Nielsen's doing a great job there at Aquatic Resources. It was great to see him in the video with Laila yesterday or on Tuesday. I know they've been down to Miloliʻi and Dove Okoye a lot. You have people like Greg Asner and the work that they're doing to support the community. We need more of that. I don't know, we can't force something onto a community. We cannot force Molokai to enact its CBSFA. That's not the role of the DLNR, right? The role of the DLNR and the BLNR is to help to support the island and the community, to support leaders like Uncle Mac and others to do education and to do consultation and to do opportunities to talk to our kupuna and talk to those in the community to get them to support this. Once it is enacted, like Hāʻena is, and Uncle Presley and everyone out there with doing what they're doing, and now Miloliʻi, what I think and no government needs to do at that point is to provide the necessary resources to enact those rules. Right, just because the governor signed the bill on Tuesday in Miloliʻi is fantastic. That's great. But what next? Right? We need enforcement. We need resources. This is where Makai Watch comes into place. All right. This is where even the small, littlest types of funding can help. $20,000 a year to the CBSFAs can help maintain vessels, a boat, enforcement, signage, educational materials. How do you continue to do that? Well, government has to provide that. Otherwise, you depend on these nonprofits like Huia Makaina Na, to come up with their own money, or Kalani Hale or Pa'apono to come up with their own money. This is where we can have money coming out of the DLNR's budget, whether it's through their special funds or through some type of fee that would be assessed to help sustain these CBSFAs in our local communities, so we can get Hoʻokena to become a CBSFA, or other areas throughout the state that want to do the same thing. I was just at Hana the other day. Hana's a great example. They could have a CBSFA there. But I mean, that's where I think governments and the office of the governor can help lead on this, is to make sure we have the right people in place in the office of the governor that understands community-based subsistence fishing areas, understands traditional customary practices, Native Hawaiian rights, and will provide the resources to implement the new CBSFA rules that exist down in Miloliʻi. So it's not just a community out of Manuahi doing the enactment of the enforcement, that there is a synergy and a relationship between DLNR, DoCare, the community, Makai Watch, and the resources needed so the community can support the newly designated CBSFA. I also think on a final note, the same model we are using for CBSFAs in our coastal communities, we can take that same model, Mauka, into our forests, into our watersheds, into places that we can establish CBSFAs that truly embody the ahupua'a concept from Mauka all the way down to Makai. And so I believe that's what I would do as governor, and what I think needs to be done to support the great work that exists now in these CBSFAs. And we need more of them across our state. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's got to be driven by the community in that area, the lineal descendants in that area, those that fish and gather in that area. And it's a testament to the leaders we have in Miloliʻi that got us to this point. And it was great to see. And your Tutu Capella would be extremely proud, Garance.
Mahalo nui. Yes, okay. So let me pass it off to Jenny. Thank you so much, Kai.
Mahalo, Uʻi. Aloha, Kai. How are you?
Aloha.
Aloha. Mahalo for being here. My name is Jenny Yagodich, and I grew up and still live in Pūpūkea out here on the North Shore of Oahu, where I actively work in ocean conservation, education, and stewardship. And so you touched on this a little bit, but here's the question. DLNR's Division of Aquatic Resources and Division of Forestry and Wildlife create the rules that help protect our natural resources across Hawaii. The Division of Conservation and Resources Enforcement, DoCare, is tasked with enforcing those rules. However, DoCare is woefully underfunded, understaffed, and not fully equipped to uphold its natural resource enforcement responsibilities. How would you ensure DoCare has the adequate funding it needs so that they can effectively enforce the rules and regulations currently in place to protect our natural resources, natural and cultural resources? Also, how soon could we expect this to happen?
Great question. You know, DoCare has been underfunded and lack of resources for as long as I've been in elected office. You know, when Lino Kamakau was the DoCare guy on Hawaii Island, and you basically had, I think, 2 or 3 DoCare officers assigned to West Hawaii to manage everything from Kalai all the way up to basically Kohala in the most highly abused aquarium fishery in the state. You know, they just couldn't cover the entire area. And so when I went to Congress, one of the things I did in my first year last year was I got about $350,000 in federal funding through a community-funded project for DLNR, for DoCare, for their DoCare training program to do more training and recruitment of new DoCare officers. And that's nice. You know, that's definitely helpful, but it's not a long-term solution. You know, we cannot keep creating administrative rules. We cannot keep creating laws without having the resources to enforce those laws. And so DLNR, as one of the biggest state departments that has so much responsibility over our natural cultural resources, has to be provided the resources they need to do that. The legislature has the power of the purse. The legislature funds line item positions in the departments. Even as the governor, you cannot just come in and say, I want 20 new DoCare officers. Here's an executive order. It doesn't work like that. You need a line item from the legislature to do that. So part of what I would do as your governor in the 2023 governor's package is propose in my first budget an increase of DoCare staff positions to DLNR, and then work together with all of your organizations and the legislature, specifically the Ways and Means and House Finance chairs, to make sure those line item positions stay in DLNR's budget. Now, DLNR has special funds. Within every state department has special funds, and they're allowed to tap those funds for additional resources. Many of those special funds comes from fees, different types of permits that people pay. They all go into special funds. And so getting a deeper look at DLNR's budget and providing them the resources they need to do adequate enforcement and conservation resource management is going to be important. I also think having a closer look at penalties and fines for individuals that break the law or do things that they shouldn't be doing, even though the laws are on the books, is important as well. As an example, cross-netting one bay, putting one net out overnight, things that are illegal to do throughout the state but are being done here on Oahu, out in Punalu'u, and all over the place. And so increasing fines for people that break the law, especially those that have to do with dog care enforcement, I think is important as well. At the end of the day, they need more staffing, they need more resources. What would I be able to do immediately, include it in the next budget, and work together with the legislature to fund those positions.
Mahalo. Thank you very much. Uncle Presley, I'm going to pass it over to you.
And just for note of time, I know Kai, you gotta jet soon, so we have 2 more questions. So Presley, hit that ball. You muted, Press.
Aloha, Kai. Sorry.
Aloha, Uncle Presley.
As you know, I'm from Hāʻena, Kauai, currently the president for Hui Makaena Nao Makana. I am also a lineal descendant of Hāʻena, Kalalau, and Nihua. We have witnessed the damage that tourism does to our communities. And we understand the importance to the economy tourism has. But our question is, exactly how would your administration change how tourism is managed? And then also, could you help us understand destination management approach to tourism and how you would be catering to the visitors while being mindful of the needs of the community, our quality of life, and stresses on our natural environment?
Great question. So, and you know, again, mahalo, Presley, because I've had just wonderful experiences down in Hāʻena, bringing my family there. And anytime I go, you know, hui maka aina na o makana, and always welcomes our ohana with open arms. Such a special place. And, you know, kua, all the work you guys did to get the CBSFA there is fantastic. You know, clearly tourism is the largest economic driver in this state. It contributes to many of the environmental impacts on this state. We created this monster, Presley. You know, the Hawaii Visitors Bureau, years and years and years of marketing created this, what we have. The expansion of our airports, the expansion and building of more hotels. We fed this beast for years, and now it's out of control because 10 million visitors a year in 2017 is absolutely unsustainable on our natural resources, on our special sacred places, on our food security, our environment, our wastewater, just you name it. So what can we do on Kauai? We cannot expand the airport. We can start there, right? No way we putting in more gates at Lihue Airport. Because you think the airline industry wants more gates? Absolutely, right? That is something in my administration. I'm appointing the next director of transportation, the next director of transportation airports division, and expanding airports across this state is not a way to reduce tourism. We should be shrinking the size of our airports, reinvesting, remodeling our airports in the infrastructure, but pulling back on some of the gates that we have, especially on our neighbor islands, right? If you look at other tourism-based destinations, and I've been to Tahiti many, many times. I met with the Minister of Tourism in Tahiti, and I've asked him, hey, how much tourists you guys get over here every year? Said about 300,000. It's like, that's it, yeah. How you guys manage it? You guys want more tourists? It's like, you know what, we don't want more tourists. We manage our tourism by managing the amount of aircraft we allow into French Polynesia and the amount of cruise ships we allow into French Polynesia. Now, granted, we're not France, right? This is the United States of America, and we got to follow the US Constitution. And largely that's driven by the Commerce Clause and the right and the ability for people to travel throughout the 50 states on, without really restriction. But the state can control that by controlling the amount of airlines and airplanes and our footprint and our airports, which is why expanding Lihui Airport is the worst idea we can do if we want to limit tourism. I believe it is time for Native Hawaiians to manage the tourism in this state through the Council for Native Hawaiian Advancement and their award of the marketing and communication tourism of Hawaii through the Hawaii Tourism Authority. First time in decades that the Hawaii Visitors Bureau will not be managing tourism. Now, what is CNHA's proposal to do? It is proposing to do a Aina-based, more indigenous-based type of tourism, working together with the hotels, working together with the airline industry, so that we can make sure that tourists, before they come to Hawaii, are educated on this place, this special place that they're coming to, and they can understand the customs, the protocols, the rules that exist around Hawaii. Destination management plans are exactly that. If you look at the island of Oahu, a tourist comes here to Oahu, what are their options? Where can they go? Well, you got the Polynesian Cultural Center, you got Kualoa Ranch, you got Ko'olina, surrounded by Aulani and those resorts, and you got Waikiki. That's all you got, right? So tourists are venturing out because of all these tourism books and all these online websites into trails, into waterfalls, into backyards, and all these places because they don't know where to go. They don't have a plan of where to go. So a destination management plan is an opportunity to create an indigenous-based tourism model where tourists come here and we put them in a lo'i. Or they come here and we take them into certain places where they can contribute back to the Hāʻena through a regenerative process so that they're leaving Hawaii better than when they came to it. We also reduce the amount of tourists that come to Hawaii, and we give them a different type of experience, a more aloha aina based experience. They're coming for that experience, but we're not giving it to them in Waikiki. We're not giving it to them at the Aulani. If I want to go see Disneyland, I'm going to go Disneyland. I don't need to come to Hawaii to go to the Aulani and pay $600 a night for a hotel room, right? That's what destination management is. So a tourist would come to Lihui and they would have an opportunity to come to Hāʻena, to learn about kalo, to learn about lo'i, to put some sweat equity into that experience, to be able to contribute back to the community and the Aina. That's one model and one thing we can think about doing. If as an island community, we want to embrace that type of tourism management. And this is what the Council of Native Hawaiian Advancement will be doing once all these protests run its course and they can start marketing the state. It is time for Native Hawaiians to be able to market Hawaii. And I believe we can do that. I fully support CNHA's role in doing that. But the governor's role, government's role is to control expansion of facilities, is to control the types of investments we have in these infrastructures, and carefully work together with the airlines and the hotel industry to make sure that we have the appropriate amount of tourists in this state at any given time. And we're giving them a reason to want to come here and to experience the special place we call home. And that when they leave, they take a little bit of Hawaii with them, a little bit of aloha aina with them, a little bit of aloha with them to wherever they're going to go back to. And I believe that's a key to how we do tourism in Hawaii moving forward.
Mahalo.
Okay. So we have one more question, so we got to play this one close. You tell us when you got to jump, but Uncle Mac has the last question.
All right.
Yeah, Uncle Mac, you mute. Got to pull you off mute.
Hello, Kai.
How's Uncle Mac? Aloha.
How's so I'm just going to jump to the question. The Hawaii State
Easy.
Constitution mandates that the state shall promote the development and utilization of its resources in a manner consistent with the conservation and in furtherance of the self-sufficiency of the state. Okay. Kalamayo Viai.
Hoʻolehua.
I'm gonna give my question. Okay. So something that is important to know is when we take something out of nature, whether it's marine resources, animals, plants, we are creating a void. Before we take anything, we should understand how that void is going to be refilled. The answers are the same as they were in the past and are the same that we as caretakers in our place uphold today. We continue the legacy. The state has laws in place to protect some of our resources, but they aren't always the most effective in maintaining a balance. And many communities, such as Momomi, are working to collaborate with the state on creating community-based subsistence fishing areas that would further protect our resources using place-based hands-on knowledge from the people who actively know and care for that place every day. In that process, we find that those who oppose these proposed rules that would help ensure balance and abundance for future generations often claim rights and oppose any limitations. While we do as Kanaka have rights, we also have a responsibility, and those rights do not mean we can take whatever we want, whenever we want, and however we want. How will you as governor ensure that what is pono for a resource is considered, what is pono for a resource is considered despite the vocal opposition of those who just want to take without limits?
Well, I mean, thanks for the question, Uncle Mac. You know, I mean, in some cases, it's our own people, right? It's our own communities that are fighting against the enactment of CBSFAs, right? Molokai is no different. I mean, it took us, look how many years it took Miloliʻi to get to the point where they got to. And, you know, when I was there actively from 2011 to 2016, you know, it was tough because people didn't understand. And, you know, they were afraid at what rules meant and why rules were important. And so, you know, things take time for change. What can the governor do? Again, gang, I come back to the most important thing this governor and this next governor gonna do. DLNR, Supreme Court, ICA, boards and commissions, CWORM, right? These are critical positions that the next governor will appoint. Ahamoku. You know, we got to make sure that the next governor is appointing the right people in these positions. And we have incredibly talented, super smart Kanaka across this state in every aspect that are ready to lead. But we got to give them the opportunity to lead. I can give them the opportunity to join me on this team and lead this state. You know, there's many, and you guys have quoted Article 12, Section 7, right? That was incorporated in our 78 Constitutional Convention, where Native Hawaiians got incredible gains in that last con. Olelo Hawaii recognized as an official state language, creation mandating in Kulakaiʻopunis in the State Department of Education system, something that had been banned 100 years. The creation of the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, traditional customary gathering rights. There's many in this state, Uncle Mac, that would love to go back and strike all those things in the state constitution because they are hindrances to development and overdevelopment. And so what are the firewalls that we have to protect that? The governor, the legislature, the court, the judicial branch. We got to make sure that the people that serve in those positions have the same values and the same DNA and kuleana and pilina that can protect those things. We have the firewall in place. Now it's an opportunity for those individuals to lead this state. I'm a hands-on person. You know, as governor of Hawaii, I'm not changing. I'll be the same person that Lila sees walking around Miloliʻi with my kids. I'll be the same person in Molokai trying to be there to help you get Molokai CBSFA enacted and then funded with the appropriate type of resources that it needs. But those take hard, meaningful, deep conversations with people in our community that are afraid and are scared of rules. The same conversations that have to be had with others throughout this state that love our culture, love our olelo, love our mele, love our fashion, love our food, but not ready for us to lead, afraid for Hawaiians to lead. What that means, we got to convince them is okay, that we can lead, that exactly what this state needs right now is OEV leadership to put us back on path. And we will represent and lead everybody in Hawaii, but it's got to be based on aloha aina, malama aina, and going back to the indigenous wisdom and knowledge that our kupuna had, that they imparted in all of us. And now is our time to channel all that ike, that experience, that knowledge, that energy into turning a new page in this state. That is what my candidacy in closing presents to Hawaii. An opportunity that doesn't come around very often, and an opportunity to usher in a new generational leader to lead Hawaii. I still go back to Miloliʻi, that played a major part in how I view the world and how I will lead as governor of Hawaii. And just saying that gives me chicken skin. You know, my father would have never imagined 6.5 years after he passed away that I would be even having this conversation right now. But I believe that it's exactly what this state needs right now. And I really hope the people of Hawaii will embrace the opportunity that is in front of them. And if we do, we will transform this state like it has never been in decades. And it's our time. And so mahalo all of you for having me on this call. I gotta go catch on plane to Hilo. Encourage you to vote. I encourage your families to vote. And if I have earned your vote, if you're gonna entrust me with your vote, I mahalo nui loa you. But I also ask with all the ha'a that I can convey, we need everybody. Keiki, kupuna, family, friends. That's the only way we're gonna win this election next Saturday. Coconut Wireless, grassroots action. I hope Miloliʻi Halau delivers 100% Laila for Kahele. I gotta win Miloliʻi. If I don't win Miloliʻi, I don't belong to be governor of Hawaii. And so, you know, I just mahalo all of you for giving me the chance. And let's holomua kako. You know, we walk in the footsteps of our ancestors. And I believe we're gonna make great change for the people of Hawaii. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Kai. We appreciate your time. Honored that you spent some time with us, and travel safe. I'm sure we'll see you soon.
Okay, everyone. Ahui ho. If you wanted to ask some question and you never got a chance, just shoot me an email to my personal email, kahelek@gmail.com, lowercase kahelek@gmail.com. But thank you all so much for your time. Have a beautiful, wonderful Thursday evening with your families. And thanks, Kevin and Kua, for all your hard work and what you guys do to represent our indigenous community. So mahalo nui loa.
Okay.
Ahui ho.
Hui ho. Okay, you can stop recording, I think.